here is the t-shirt I'm gonna work on. It's technically a t-shirt without sleeves, so it's kind of from a dolman pattern, but why do I wanna fix this? I'm not a huge t-shirt wearer, but this material is hard to get. You know, I can't find this. Plus, it's a shaped knit. You can kind of see that in here where it has these special finishes that create this shape around the neck. So I couldn't even replicate this if I did have this material because I don't have the knitting loom that made this. So for me, it's worth giving it a try to save. So this is, I mean, it's a cute shirt enough, but the thing is it's not a current shape. Not only is the V-neck not 100% current, but it's too long, right? People are wearing crop tops, and it's also like enormous because I bought it when I was a little bit more enormous. So I'm gonna take it down, and here we go. Instead of just turning the hem up to make it shorter and then making like kind of a boxy shorter shirt, which is an option, but I want to keep this hem because again, it's not another one of those shaped hem things where I can never replace that. It's part of how it was knit. So I put it on the dress form inside out so I can pin it down to what size I want. So I'm theoretically somewhat close to this dress form's measurement, so I could come over here and pin it out on the form so I know exactly what shape it is, but I'm gonna do this kind of like how you would do it at home if you didn't have this fancy schmancy form. How wide it is, and it is 44 inches, 45 inches wide. You're like, how do you get 45 off of 22? Well, it's 22.5 times 2, right? So approximately 45 inches circumference. And I want to take that down to 35 inches circumference because that's about my high hip measurement. So that's 10 inches that I need to take it down. I've got two sides, divide by 10, and 2 into 10 is 5, and then I got a front and a back, so 5 divided by 2 is about 2.5, so I need to take it in about 2.5 inches on each side. I actually like the bust being big. I actually like this kind of dolman look up here, so I want to keep this armhole and the neck and all this stuff together, so that means I can't interfere with anything up here. So I'll start by taking out 2.5 at the bottom, and then I'll taper it up to nothing by the time I get to the armhole. So it is now 3:35, and we're gonna kind of track how long this takes. So I'm not gonna take any breaks, I'm just gonna zoom on through. I've got this stacked really nice, and I'm gonna do 2.5 here, 2.5 here, and then at this point, I'm gonna start kind of tipping it out so that I end up done by the time I get underneath the armhole. But of course I can't have that ding there. That's like not on a body, so I can't have it in there. So I'm just gonna kind of get rid of that and kind of make it look gradual. So that's a nice curve out. I like it. And I always usually have it end a little bit below the armhole so you don't end up with some weird something going on under there. So now I need to take that information and put it on this side as well. So 2.5 inches, approximately 2.5. This is all just kind of guessing. And then I'm gonna go ending it just underneath the armhole. And then I need to kind of curve that out and make it look like something you'd see on a human and not in a, oh, that's actually maybe even a little bit further out. It's just chalk and it's inside out. All right, so I've got that set up. I think those sides are probably pretty close. I'm gonna put maybe a couple of pins in. I want the bottom to definitely be lined up. And notice I'm not cutting it yet. You can always unpick it, but you can't undo a cut, right? So a couple of pins, and then I'm going to, oops, see, that's not lined up. I do want that to line up right at the bottom. There we go. Take it over the sewing machine. Okay. All right, so I'm at the sewing machine here. I like to start from the hem and go up instead of the armholes and go down. That way I know for sure everything's lined up down here. Put this under. I'm in a normal stitch length, a couple stitches forward, a couple back. I might actually first pass when I have it in a longer stitch in case I have to unpick it. But it's too late now. I'm in a normal stitch. Ah. So with knit, sometimes I want to kind of push it a little bit so it doesn't stretch out, which I know is a little bit against what you'd think with knits, the stretch and sew, but I don't want this side seam to be stretched out. Whoa. Going on its own. I'm gonna do the other side. Oh, and because I marked both sides on the same side of the fabric and I want to start at the hem, I'm gonna have to have all my fabric underneath on that. the stitches are right side. I don't know my left. I'm right. Now the next thing I need to do is do a fitting. So at home, you're gonna throw this on yourself, and here at the studio, I'm gonna throw it on the dress form. Yeah, it's like not as boxy at all. It's still the same length, but it's got a little bit of a tighter fit, which is what I'm after. So the next thing I wanna do is I'm gonna put some elastic in the side to make it shorter. So instead of hemming it up, I'm gonna ruche it up. And we'll just see if that actually works. I might have to put a third piece of elastic in the center back here to kind of hold that back up. I'm gonna put 2 at the side seams, but I don't wanna put 1 in the front because that would look funny. And I might end up putting some in the shoulders too, because that might be cute, but that's another time. All right, so I have turned it back right sides out. I've got these fairly similar curves going on here, and I'm ready to cut into this. So I'm gonna cut myself about a 3/8, quarter inch, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance here. And you'll notice here on the original one, there's no thread because they have such advanced equipment with the knitting anymore, and these 2 pieces are actually knit together. Look at that, isn't that sharp? That's amazing. Both sides. Now I want to shorten it about 5 inches. I want it to be 5 inches shorter. So what I need to do is I need to actually mark this for 10 inches. So 10 inches up is here, and you're like, what, 10 inches? Because, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is gonna work. Again, a lot of times when you're doing things like this, you just use a long stitch because there's a lot of unpicking that could happen. So I've marked it about 10 inches up. And then I'm gonna take this clear elastic. Now you don't have to use clear elastic, you can use regular elastic, but what I like about this is that it's so lightweight, so it doesn't create any kind of bulk or anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take 5 inches of this elastic and I'm going to start sewing it up here, and I'm gonna stretch it as hard as I can so that when it's done, the bottom part will be right at the very bottom. Actually, I'll probably do that from the bottom up again. And if I can, I'm gonna do it inside the seam. And that will make this so that instead of it being 10 inches, it'll be 5 inches. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'll meet you over at the sewing machine. Okay, so theoretically, I would like to have it right on this seam so that it's ruching it up nice and flat. You could do it on the front or the back, but it wouldn't be quite as nice, I don't think. So I have my elastic here, and I'm going to give myself about 1 inch at the top so I can hold it, and then I'm going to need 5 inches, and I forgot to bring my ruler, but I have one on the front of my machine, so there's 5 inches down. And then I'm going to give myself a couple inches to hold on to again. So that's the kind of elastic I want to have to work with. And since I've already got this one ready, I might as well prepare my next one. So again, it doesn't really matter how long the elastic piece is that I cut. What's more important is that I have 2 marks here that are 5 inches apart. Okay. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this right at the very hem, and see how that gives me something to hold on to, so it's not like I'm trying my hardest, because I can always just trim that off later. I might put it down into a shorter stitch for this technique, and then put that right on the seam, a couple stitches forward, a couple back. And I'm gonna put a little pin in here to kind of help me. The one thing about this elastic is that once it's perforated, it gets weak. So you don't want to do this multiple times. So it's hard to see, but it's right on that seam. It's hard for me to see. Hopefully it's on the seam. And I am sewing through the seam and the elastic at the same time. I feel like doing something like this is pointless to pin it ahead of time because it's just easier to handle it as you're sewing. All right, getting that last pin out. I'm gonna, where's that? There's my line again. Again, this is all approximate. I'm like about 10 inches down to about 5 inches. So that's alterations for you. Now I'm gonna get rid of that. I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna get rid of that hangover. I don't need that anymore. Hangover, who needs a hangover, right? And then I don't know if I'm gonna get rid of the corners of that seam or not. So on the inside, it looks like elastic, and on the outside, it looks ruched, a really easy ruche. Okay, I'm gonna do that for the other seam now. We ruched up the sides using elastic, and I think it's pretty cute. It's still just as long at the front, but it did take it up 5 inches at the side seam. And I don't know, this is a fit it, not a fix it. I'm gonna wear it tonight, and if I like it, I'll keep it. If not, I'll forget it and I'll donate it. Now, what time is it? It is 3:50. So it only took a few minutes to do this quick little fix it.